The Hawaiian Islands, crown jewel of the Pacific. Many come to the islands for its secluded white sand beaches, its emerald blue waters, and its lush rolling hills and tropic valleys. For others, it's the lure of the trades, the power of the surf, and the challenge of the most dynamic sport of the 80s. Windsurfing is the fastest growing water sport in the world today. Both men and women are attracted to windsurfing, which has a magnetic sensation of speed, the thrills of aerial maneuvers, and the freedom that no other sport can match. The sport's young designers and test pilots are relentless in their pursuit to turn faster. Their challenge of larger and more powerful waves. Here, they combine the fundamentals of both surfing and sailing. This new breed of athlete pushes it to the limit with incredible inverted aerial attempts. It's the trades, the power, and the challenge. The ultimate windsurfing destination is, without a doubt, Maui. Here on this beautiful island paradise, all the elements come together.
Welcome to the beautiful and rugged North Shore of Maui in the Hawaiian Islands. Hi, I'm David Stanfield, and this is Hukipa Beach Park. Here, a combination of warm water, good surf, strong trade winds makes for a legendary spot. In fact, Hukipa Beach is the best spot in the world for wave performance riding. Located 2,397 miles from San Francisco is the island of Maui. Maui is the second largest island in the Hawaiian chain. And towering 10,000 feet up into the clouds is the mighty Haleakala crater. Out where Baldwin Avenue meets the Hana Highway is downtown Paia. This old sugarcane plantation town has become the windsurfing capital of the world. Even the gas station rents sailboards. For tourists on their way to Hana, Hukipa is simply a little beach park with some colorful activity in the water. Hukipa Beach has long been known as one of Maui's finest surfing spots, but for board sailors, the place is Hukipa, which is the ideal location for the Aloha Classic World Wave Sailing Championships, featuring men and women professionals, 148 in all, from 12 different countries. $25,000 in prize money for 2 disciplines of sailing competition, along with a special, one-of-a-kind event. Go for it. First, the Slalom competition. 5 staggered buoys placed in and outside the breaker zone. 4-man heats racing a speed contest through the surf. Next, wave performance competition. 8-minute man-on-man heats, judged on surfing the waves, jumping the waves, and their transitions, their turns. And finally, a super session, freestyle sailing in the surf at its most extreme. Here, the crazies take to the air in an explosive display of slashing off-the-lip maneuvers, breathtaking jumps, helicopter spins, barrel rolls, and the ultimate, the aerial loop. This contest has $25,000 in prize money, and although everything is featured around wave performance, the jumping and the riding the waves here at Hukipa, there was a surf slalom. Let's take a look at that action. In any sailboarding competition, prevailing wind conditions represent one of the most important elements to consider. Here at Hukipa, the Tradewinds blow year-round out of the northeast at an average of 15 to 20 knots, providing ideal conditions for slalom racing. At the Aloha Classic, the slalom course consisted of staggered buoys placed inside and outside the breaker zone. A time countdown from the committee boat has competitors at the staging area closely watching the officials' warning flags, zeroing in on the start line under full power. Right as the green flag appears, the race is on. For the women's surf slalom finals, Northeast Trades flew in at 18 to 22 miles per hour with a weak 1 to 2 foot swell. Dana Dawes grabbed the lead at the first mark. Squall conditions didn't hinder Dana, as she led from start to finish. She entered the turns wide at the marks, then jibed as close as possible. Here, hooked in on a fast reach, heading to the inside mark. Initiates a perfect turn, and right behind her, Kelbiano. Heading to the last outside mark, Kelby's only chance at overtaking the lead. She tries a downwind line, closer to the mark. Dana to the outside, and she cut the close and heads to the beach. First place, Dana Dawes from Kailua on the island of Oahu. She's 23 years old. Second place went to Kelbiano, the transplanted Californian, 23 years old, now living here on Maui. And third place went to Debbie Brown from Kahului, Maui, the 29-year-old veteran. The Masters Surf Slalom Competition. For the old guys, 30 years and older, many veteran surfers now turned sailors. In the final heat, it was Doug Hunt who caught a swell at the start and blazed to the first mark. He easily outdistanced and outclassed all the other competitors. And Doug Hunt with a fast line to the finish. And he wins the Masters Surf Slalom Competition. 32 years old from Paia, Maui, originally from Florida. Second place went to Mayo Likes, living in Paia, Maui, 31 years old. And third place went to Jerry Lopez from Upcountry, Maui, living in Makawao, the 36-year-old bonsai pipeline surf star. In the men's competition, Chris Appleton and Craig Yester edged out the Australians, Mark Paul and Scott O'Connor, in a wild semi-final heat that saw falls by everyone but Appleton. In the remaining semi, Alan Cadiz breezed into the finals by taking a first. And in a surprise upset, 15-year-old Ian Boyd skipped school to fly past 5-time world windsurfing champion Matt Schweitzer to advance into the finals. With the winds now gusting to nearly 30 miles per hour, Craig Yester, after falling twice in the semis, decided to go with a smaller sail. Aside from a good start and the right choice of equipment, each competitor has his own ideas on what it'll take to win the event. Chris Appleton's philosophy, it was very simple.
Just try not to fall.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, how do you go fast then?
Just hang on and shoot it and hold on.
The marks, the jibes, one-handed duck jibes, or it's just too windy, too messy?
Survival jibes. Survival jibes.
Yeah. You've got a watch. Are you using the watch on the start? It's critical?
Very critical.
Explain the start sequence.
3-minute warning, And you can count down to 0 seconds and hit the line on a plane at 0.
First one to the mark usually wins, right?
First one over the line wins.
First one over the line.
Yeah.
For Ian Boyd, he had to do something above and beyond the call of duty.
Yeah, I go to school, but I'm not today.
You're going into the finals. You know your competition. What are you going to do? What's it going to take to win?
It's going to take smooth, fast drives and just a fast straightaway and just try to keep control, basically.
This is going to be the biggest race of your life?
Yeah. I'm going to try to go for it and do the best I can.
Alan Cadiz, well, he's been looking to this event for months.
I spent a lot of time training on this equipment the last 3 weeks, and every day, whenever people are sailing their waveboards, I've been sailing my slalom board, and just the extra effort has paid off.
Any tricks for the finals?
Just get a good start and be conservative when I get in front, and just keep the board in the water.
In the men's slalom final, it's a 4-man heat race with 23-year-old Craig Yester from Haleiwa, Oahu. From Paia, Maui, sailing on the Tiga team, 23-year-old Alan Cadiz. From Kuau, Maui, the 24-year-old first-year pro Chris Appleton. And rounding out the field is the 15-year-old surprise upstart, one of the Kihei kids, Ian Boyd. And the men's slalom final. Green flags up, the race is on. Alan Cadiz, furthest one upwind. And dropping into 4th place, the less experienced Ian Boyd. Moving way on front is Alan Cadiz. And there's Craig Yester, followed by Chris Appleton. And Ian Boyd getting some air. The outside mark. Alan Cadiz maintains under the gusty conditions here at Hukipa. Going down is Chris Appleton to the outside. Ian Boyd has moved into 3rd place and is closing in on Craig Yester. In the biggest race of his life, 15-year-old Ian Boyd skipped school to be in this competition and is challenging Craig Yester for 2nd place. On the inside mark, it's Yester. Yester goes down. Here comes Ian Boyd. Ian Boyd goes down. Quickly, they're back up. But the race is on for 2nd place, even tighter than ever. Boyd now a little bit further upwind. The biggest race of his life. He's on a new line here. Tries the inside and catches up with Craig Yester. And this is Alan Cadiz, his last outside mark, heading for home. Hooked in on a fast reach. A big lead, crosses the finish line, $3,000 richer, Alan Cadiz. And here, the race for 2nd. Craig Yester leading Ian Boyd. Yester crosses the finish line first. A great finish, 3rd place for Ian Boyd. 4th place, Chris Appleton. And on the beach, the 4 finalists are congratulated by their peers. We talked to a confident Alan Cadiz who predicted this win. You predicted it. How were you so confident?
Well, I had trained a lot.
That was the key.
And anything less than 1st would have just been heartbreaking.
Your feeling coming into the 1st mark, it was so tight, so many people right around you. Did you feel any pressure?
Yeah, well, once I had broken away, I felt good. And then the 1st turn, I felt really good. I buried my board deep in the water, and it just held in, and I came away really good. At that point, I was confident that all I had to do was keep the board in the water, and I'd have it.
Going for the overall title, your thoughts on the last heat?
Well, it's pretty windy out there. That last heat was the first time I used a wave sail. Alan was using a racing sail, and that might have been the difference, but it was just hard to hold on. I just wanted to hold on out there. So 2nd in the slalom, and hopefully I'll get 1st in the waves. Be good. Just got to watch out for Alan.
Good luck.
All right, thanks.
For young Ian Boyd, it's a new profession and a $900 payday.
So you are a professional at the age of 15?
Yeah, I am now.
At the end of 3 days of competition, the Aloha Classic continues. Coming up next, exciting wave performance competition. Hawaii has long been recognized as the surf capital of the world. From the earliest recorded history of Polynesia to the days of the Duke, when surfboards were carved out of redwood and weighed over 100 pounds. To the compact, aggressive, slashing style of today, Hawaii remains the proving ground where the best in the world come to learn respect. The mystic power of these islands holds for many the dream of the perfect wave. Here in the islands, wave riding is more than a sport. It is a way of life, an expression of a culture that lives for the sun and the water. This is island style. And, as a natural extension of that style, windsurfing uniquely combines the raw power of surfing with the added dimension of harnessing the wind. Surfer, sailor, and inventor of the sport, Hoyle Schweitzer, explains how it all came about.
In sailing, it's a big hassle, and surfing, it's rarely good, and when it's good, it's very crowded. So we thought it'd be a good idea to have a high adrenaline sport that would combine the better aspects of both surfing and sailing.
It's no accident that many of the best board sailors in the world got their start in the water as surfers.
My roots are a surfer as well as a sailor, but I think I've done quite a bit of sailing, and I'm finding myself more intrigued by wave jumping and wind and waves, because it throws in another element of excitement.
When we first saw Mike Waltz out here around 1980, we were just amazed. It was just totally awesome. And at first, we were just blown away by it all. Then a few years later, it got so crowded, a lot of us surfers started really resenting the windsurfers out there. And then finally, we just joined them. Now all the best windsurfers at Cape are all out there shredding Cape on sailboards.
On both the amateur and professional levels, women have taken to the sport in a very big way. Matt Schweitzer shared these thoughts.
Big days and good wind, you see some of the women and they're doing just as well as the men. I mean, maybe not quite as aggressive, but it's great to see them out there.
Mike Waltz, one of the best in the world, shared similar views. Are they adding to the sport?
Oh yeah, women are definitely. Especially in Hawaii, there's a good 30 women who sail regularly all the time. And with the women, there's about a dozen of them that are all right there. At this time, I think any of them could win a contest.
Kelbiano, one of the top women board sailors, is enthusiastic about women in the sport.
I started out, I didn't know how to sail or surf, and I just got into it 6 years ago, but I've come a long way from 6 years, and I encourage any girl to get into it. It's like a natural sport for women.
Many sailboard instructors say that women pick up the sport faster than most men.
When you first start windsurfing, a man will type to struggle and power it with his muscle, where a woman will more finesse, and she listens to you more. I've taught hundreds of people, and women always seem to learn a lot better than men.
It's so easy to learn. I learned easily. I mean, it wasn't like a big thing. It was frustrating at first, but it just comes in time and practice. You have to practice to make perfect.
What's it take to be one of the best in this sport? Dana Dawes had a very simple answer.
Buy a car, get a dog, and live in Paia.
And Day 4 brought the women back into the water for the wave competition, where we saw some outstanding performances by many of the women. But the gusty conditions of Hukipa didn't make it easy. Kelbiano gave us an idea what it would take.
It's so windy that it's survival out there. So we just try to do whatever we can to get jumps, transitions, and wave ride as best we can. Just to keep calm, keep consistent, try not to fall, but just try to be as smooth as you can, and whoever stands out and is up is going to win the contest.
Lorraine McClay came face-to-face with Janie Hunt in the final rounds of the women's wave performance competition. We've had 60 elimination heats thus far, and out of the 23 finalists, 4 talented women have survived. Both competitors had some coaching on the beach before this heat. Watching Janie Hunt's performance closely was their coach and husband, Doug Hunt, who offered some sound advice.
My wife and I are both in competition out here today, and I just try to give her some competition strategy, what to do, how to get that little winning advantage point.
Janie Hunt heads out through the surf, trying to score points by jumping off the tops of the waves. Meanwhile, Lorraine McClay trying to score points riding the waves. Janie Hunt, very smooth and delicate on these waves. A radical and aggressive style for Lorraine McClay. Oh, and she goes down. Her mast hits the reef. Her rig is intact. The mast isn't broken. Now it is critical for a quick water start. And Lorraine McClay is one of the best at water starting here at Hukipa. She's up. Now, does she have the speed to make it over this outside wave? She does. She pops up and over. Lorraine McClay's aggressive approach to point scoring is a direct reflection of her boyfriend's competition advice. Here's what David Daly, also a competitor, told Lorraine.
The bottom line is to stay within the surf zone, try to get as many waves as possible, jump as much as you can, get jumps off of anything because they all count for points, and just ride the waves as best you can and try and make the mistakes as little as possible, and if you see an area to go for it, go for it.
Not afraid to take chances, Lorraine McClay rips and tears down the face of these waves at Hukipa. Taking chances is all a part of the game, and she does that. The heat is over with. They come ashore. And it was Lorraine McClay, one of the sport's most graceful wave stylists, who defeated Hunt and moved on to face Debbie Brown in what would be a tough second semifinal. As Lorraine tried to loosen up before the next heat, we had a chance to examine just how wave performance events are scored. Here at the Aloha Classic, 5 judges awarded points for various skills and maneuvers involved in wave riding. We talked to Cyrus Monroe, head judge of the Aloha Classic.
Cyrus, how do you judge a wave performance contest?
Okay, we have the 3 categories. 1, transitions, 2, wave riding, and 3, jumping.
Okay, transitions, exactly what are they?
Transition is where they come about, that is going from one direction to the other. Some of the guys are doing duck jive, some of them are doing duck tacks. Those are better than the normal power jive.
The most spectacular indeed is the aerials, and what are they doing in the aerials? What can we look for the high scoring jumps?
Okay, the high jumps, what we're looking for is upside down, jump, coming down, landing right, and sailing away from it. Another thing that a few of the guys are doing is the 360 aerial loops, which is going up and doing a full 360 in the air and coming down. We've seen 2 this contest so far.
Lorraine McClay's next challenge brought her up against veteran Debbie Brown in the women's semifinal match. The winner here will meet Kelbiano for the women's wave performance title. A beach start for Lorraine McClay. Already outside is Debbie Brown. A quick transition and she picks up the first wave. Lorraine, with a beautiful outside transition, picks up the wave and she goes upwind. She might be tiring. Submarines aboard and goes down. Debbie scoring points. And Lorraine McClay's up in scoring points now. Debbie Brown with one of the biggest waves of the heat. And flies downwind. Inside transition for Lorraine McClay. In the closing minutes of the heat, both competitors trying to get as many waves as possible to score points. As both hit the beach, Debbie was clearly pleased. Obviously overworked from her previous heats, Lorraine was outmatched by the powerful performance of Debbie Brown. We talked to Lorraine afterward.
A strong third overall in the wave performance. Tell us, what were you concentrating on? What was David telling you to do out there? What were the tricks?
Well, he said I was doing fine. I just had to stay upwind just because, you know, the waves downwind weren't as long. But it was so windy that you could barely, you know, just do one turn, and you were so overpowered from just that one turn that I was exhausted. By this time, I'm exhausted. So to go into another turn, it's just...
In the women's wave performance final, it was undefeated Kelbiano who faced seasoned pro Debbie Brown. We talked to Kelby, who had mixed emotions before the finals.
Competing against Debbie is really, really hard. I mean, we're both so competitive against each other, but we're still such good friends. So whoever gets first, whoever gets second, that's okay.
In the final heat, Kelbiano and Debbie Brown faced off once again, as they have so many times before. They displayed the confident style and grace that has become the standard in women's wave performance competition. Debbie Brown, whose powerful approach sets her apart. But it is consistency that Kelbiano is known for. Debbie takes chances, a tremendously aggressive sailor. On the other hand, Kelby is consistent with a minimum amount of mistakes. Debbie goes out, Kelby comes in. Debbie gets some great air, while Kelby does a great transition and picks up a wave. A very close heat. Out through the surf. And the girls rack up points. The red flag goes up. End of the heat. Kelby comes ashore, followed by Debbie Brown. Anxious moments for Kelbiano. Kelby nervously reflects on her performance. Debbie seems more relaxed. Kelby heads to the officials' tent to wait for the results. The judges tabulate the scores. And your winner is Kelbiano. First in wave performance, second in slalom, Kelbiano. becomes the women's overall champion. We talked with Kelby afterward.
Did you feel like you won the event?
I don't know. I couldn't really tell because I wasn't really watching Debbie. I was just like concentrating on just keeping it together, you know, just like the board on the water, the sail up, not falling. And it was really hard because you had to, you know, pay attention to everything. You know, just like when you jive, you had to be so on it. You know, you couldn't slack off for 1 second because it would just be history. If you did, you'd fall because the wind's really gusty. I just got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Kelby was really on, so.
Okay, we noticed you lost your board. What were your feelings there? Say, well, look, I think this is it. Or you had a long swim.
I had a long swim, but I don't think you can ever give up because what happens if she lost her board or whatever? You always have to have a positive attitude. Keep going.
In the women's division, the winner was Kelbiano. Second place went to Debbie Brown, and third place to Lorraine McClay. The following day, with the winds gusting to 25 knots and a mast-high west swell pumping in at 8 to 10 feet, the Masters took to the waves. We had a chance to talk to Doug Hunt before the competition.
Well, the winds are just about a little bit less than normal here, so we're using like 50 square foot sails, but sometimes you have to do that when the waves get big because the wind lightens up. I would say in a couple of days there won't be much wind at all. It'll be perfect for surfing.
But in what turned out to be the best conditions of the Aloha Classic, a frustrated Robin Cortez from Kailua, Oahu, was shut down twice by Doug Hunt in both the quarter and semifinals. Even though Cortez put in one of the finest performances of the day, he could not sail an impressive Doug Hunt. Hunt's high-flying aerial act, along with his superb outside transitions and consistent wave selection, easily moved him into the second semifinal. But Doug Hunt had troubles of his own as he went up against pipeline master Jerry Lopez. With what appeared to be superior wave savvy and a bit of luck, Jerry Lopez maintained his edge against the more experienced sailor. The Lopez victory forced Hunt into the losers bracket to fight his way back into the finals. And Doug Hunt did come back. The head-to-head competition between he and Lopez continued into the finals. Doug talked about his strategy before the first heat of the finals.
I don't know if you saw our last launch, but Jerry was in the same heat as myself as we're coming up the winner's bracket. And I got outside first and got my choice of the first wave before he did. So I think that's a lot of the strategy. And of course, the ability to get out through these big waves, knowing when to jibe and when to keep going for it, is a really good technique to develop here. And hopefully my technique's better than Jerry's through I have more years of sailing than Jerry does.
In the Masters wave performance competition, it was Doug Hunt who set out once again against Jerry Lopez in the first heat of the double elimination finals. Both Hunt and Lopez picking up beautiful waves and scoring points on jumps as they head out through the surf. Lopez hits the beach, feeling the presence of a determined and aggressive Doug Hunt.
One more heat. I'm ready.
We asked Jerry how he felt facing Hunt a second time in the finals.
I'm not worried about anything. I'm just out here to have a good time.
And you're doing it.
That's what the Masters Division's all about.
Great.
After being postponed twice due to lack of wind, the final heat of the Aloha Classic Masters wave riding event finally got underway. This classic battle featured two aggressive sailors. Hunt, with his high-flying, off-the-lip, quick jibe attack, outpaced the smooth Lopez with his flowing classic style. The turning point came when Lopez got caught inside, allowing Hunt to rack up the points. Light wind conditions might have been a problem for Lopez. Back on the beach, we asked Doug if he was watching Jerry.
Yeah, I was definitely looking for Lopez. You know, I go, did he get eaten? Did he get eaten? Then I finally see him starting way up the beach. I was already outside the surf line. He was inside the surf line, so I think I had a strategy on him.
Did you pick the right sail before you went out? Was everything perfect for you?
I could have used a bigger one, but I'm glad I did take a larger one than what I used in warm-up heat. In the warm-up heat, I used a 45 square footer, and then out there I used my 50 Neil Price.
Congratulations, winning the slalom, winning the Masters event here in wave performance. Doug Hunt, the overall champion, Master Division, the Aloha Classic in 1985.
Don Johnson, eat your heart out, buddy.
The overall Aloha Classic Masters champion, Doug Hunt. Wave performance board sailing has changed dramatically in just the past few years. Maneuvers that were once considered impossible are now a part of every top professional's repertoire. But perhaps one of the most exciting elements yet to emerge is the arrival of a hot new breed of young athletes who have come to challenge the old guard, set out and redefine the limits of the sport. We talked to board shaper, innovator, and father of one of these newcomers, Ed Angulo.
Tables have turned, I think, pretty much in wave sailing especially. The kids are setting the standards. They're coming up with the new maneuvers. They're pushing it to the limits. They don't really have any fear. They don't know what fear is. And the veterans are going to be looking at them. You know, I think they're thinking twice about going against the kids.
And one of the veterans feeling the heat is five-time world windsurfing champion Matt Schweitzer.
There's a lot of little kids now, about 18, 17 from Kihei, that are unbelievable. You know, I'm only 25, but these kids are fearless, you know. They'll do anything.
And it was here at the Aloha Classic Men's Wave Performance Competition that this young new contingency, Scotty O'Connor, Mark Angulo, and the Kihei kids, Ian Boyd, Kevin Wetter, David Wetter, and Eric Sharp, emerged as the ones to watch in the years to come. Good conditions once again prevailed as the trades blew out of the northeast at 15 to 20 knots, with waves averaging 3 to 5 feet out of the northwest. A field of 32 out of 85 competitors advanced into the final rounds, and as expected, the young competitors made a lasting impression on the vets by taking 10 of the 32 slots. Their fearless approach to wave riding seemed to announce, "Look out." Kihei kids, Eric Sharp, David Wetter, and Ian Boyd each advanced to the quarterfinals, where they were shut down by Maui local Jerry Wilson. And legendary Hukipa wave sailor Mike Waltz. But not before knocking off some of the sport's top professionals, including five-time world windsurfing champion Matt Schweitzer. Sail designer Dave Ezzy, seasoned veteran and another sail designer Malta Zimmer, and top Australian professional Mark Paul. Mark Angulo, however, remained undefeated and moved into the semis where he faced a tough, unbeaten Alan Cadiz. Cadiz proved to be too much for the young Angulo, forcing him into the losers bracket. Mike Waltz, after losing to Angulo earlier, was forced to fight his way back through the losers bracket where he faced style master Craig Yester. Waltz, always a tough competitor, defeated Yester, setting up a grudge match against Angulo and a shot at Alan Cadiz and the title. In one of the hottest battles of the contest, it was anybody's game as Mike Waltz and Mark Angulo went head-to-head. Waltz consistently displayed his stylish mastery that earned him the title Mr. Hukipa. But Mark Angulo matched him move for move with his aggressive slashing attack. Here, Waltz pulls off an amazing inside transition in light air. And right behind him, Angulo's carbon copy. But in the end, it was Mike Waltz, Mr. Hukipa, who would face the seemingly unstoppable Alan Cadiz. We had a chance to talk with Waltz and Cadiz before the final.
Back in 1981, Mike Waltz won the very first wave sailing event in the history of the sport, and now he's in the finals of what seems to be one of the richest, the $25,000 event. Is it money? Is it love of the sport? What is it?
Love of the sport. The money helps a lot, but I just like being out there.
How about a big hand for our third place finisher, Mark Angulo?
And for Mark Angulo, third place wasn't quite what he'd hoped for.
What's been the secret? What's been the driving force?
Well, I've had a lot of luck. The conditions have suited me, my weight. It's been light wind a lot, and the luck of the draw, and I think all the practice on my slalom board has paid off on my wakeboard too.
It seems like the inside transitions, the hot dog maneuvers, they're playing a big role.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing and give it a little bit more this time because I've got 2 chances. I'm the last one to have not lost yet, so I'll really go for it this time.
It was Alan Cadiz and Mike Waltz for the final heat of the Men's Wave Performance Championship. Cadiz with the blue, red, and white sail, Waltz with the yellow and green sail. Cadiz with a great first jump. Waltz follows. The undefeated Cadiz, with a one-heat advantage, forced Waltz to go for broke. But luck stayed with Cadiz as Waltz made some costly mistakes.
And the winner, the overall winner of the Aloha Classic, Alan Cadiz. Honestly, when you hit the beach, did you feel like you'd won or you had no idea?
No, I thought that it was going to be close, and if anything, Mike had it, but I still had a second chance.
Alan Cadiz becomes the overall champion by winning not only the slalom event earlier in the week, but taking first place in men's wave performance, second place going to Mike Waltz, and third place, Mark Angulo. Today's top board sailing professionals take their sport and equipment seriously. The priorities are clear. Often, it doesn't matter how you get to the beach, but what you've got to work with once you get there. On a very basic level, a board sailing rig is made up of 3 main elements: the board, the fin system, and the sail assembly, which is comprised of the sail, mast, booms, and universal mount. As with any sport of a technical nature, board sailing has prospered from rapid advances in equipment design. We asked Ed Angulo, one of the key players on the cutting edge, about some of the changes.
Boards, I think, made the first change. They progressed rapidly. They got a lot of ideas from surfboards. That was the first thing. The sails kind of stayed a little behind, but the big changes now, I believe, are leaning towards better sail development, more efficient sails that are maybe lighter weight. The sail designers are really coming on. I think that is kind of the emphasis right now.
A sail can be thought of much like the wing of a hang glider. It is the major element that, when combined with the force of the wind, propels the craft forward. Sails are made in many different sizes and designs. Depending on the given wind conditions, the size of the sail, along with its design, will determine its effectiveness in specific conditions. This is especially true in competition. Often, it is the choice of the sail that will determine a competitor's success during a heat. In light wind conditions, a larger sail is the call. But in high wind conditions, an oversized sail can spell disaster for the competitor. One area where sail design plays an essential role is in the fastest growing discipline in board sailing today, speed sailing. We caught up with Fred Haywood at the Alpha Speed Week at the Ponds in Palm Springs, California, just before he set out to shatter the world speed record.
Speed sailing equipment, is that the prototype of all sailing equipment that's happening now, or just a portion? It's adding a lot to the sport, though, in terms of efficient sails, efficient boards?
I think so. Anytime we can get a time for what we're doing, you're obviously improving or making something worse by the speeds you're going. It's much easier to understand when you have a clock in the game. So a lot of advances have come from speed sailing. However, all the particular aspects add to each other. It's like we're in a big potpourri of information, and all the speed sailors, wave sailors, and course racers get together and discuss all the techniques and tactics. When I set the world speed record, I was on a very tiny board. So proportionately, I had the best combination, a small board, a very efficient sail, and a lot of weight to hold it.
Palm Springs, California has now become a board sailing oasis. A Venturi effect has hot desert winds blowing through Banning Pass, often in excess of 30 knots. Fred Haywood and a handful of competitors, after suffering a disappointing weekend, set out to break the world speed sailing record. Haywood's ability to water start his narrow craft, which measures a mere 18.5 inches wide, needs a solid 30-knot wind to pop him out of the water. As nightfall approached, with ideal conditions, Haywood got his chance at the record. The Maui board sailor clocked the 100-meter dash in just under 6 seconds, finally reaching a speed of 32.81 knots, an unbelievable 38.91 miles per hour. The women's world record for the 100 meters was set by Patty Whitcomb. The 35-year-old Whitcomb, also from Maui, a neighbor of Fred Haywood, hooked in and held on in perfect form and became the fastest woman in the world by clocking a 30.295 run. That's over 34 miles per hour. Also at the Ponds, we had a chance to check out a new toy on the equipment scene, Richard White's launch ramp. Designed for flat water situations, this floating scrub brush simulates the thrill of wave jumping aerials.
The ramp is basically just another development in the sport. You know, it's continuing on. It's a natural progression to think of jumping on flat water, turning flat water lakes into three-dimensional playgrounds, basically.
Boards are actually floating hydroplanes, and they too come in a myriad of shapes. Because of the explosive design innovations in surfing during the 70s, windsurfing boards have reaped the rewards of radical hull designs. Local Maui sailor Jerry Wilson explains.
The most obvious thing about this board is that it's different from one side to the next. This side's narrow, this side's wide. And the reason for that is we ride waves in one direction here, And this is the side you're turning on when you're coming off the bottom of the wave. You're going so fast, you got to have a real narrow board to hold in and just to have control at that speed. When you come off the top, you're doing more of a pivoting type of turn. That's why you want a wider, more curvier side to turn on, you know. It's just hydrodynamics. And these boards have evolved a long ways, and there's more minor refinements to do all the time.
It is the mast system. The mast itself, the boom, and the universal mount that allows the rig to be maneuvered. Of all the components, the mast probably takes the most abuse in a board sailing rig. We talked to New Zealand mast maker Mark Wilkinson.
Mast seems to be the thing that goes first, you know. The sails are on such short booms now that, you know, even the booms aren't getting bent too much these days. All the pressure seems to be on the mast.
Even though there have been many recent breakthroughs in mast design, sailing in the surf still takes its toll. And even the best have their limits. One of the more important contributions in recent sailboard design innovation was the addition of the foot strap. Foot straps now enable board sailors to not only travel faster than ever before, but open the door to the once thought impossible inverted aerials. And it was during the Super Session, the Aloha Classic Loop Contest, that all the stops were pulled on the closing day, when the top aerial pilots set their sights on the sky. Having narrowed the pack from 148 to 24 earlier in the week, it was Kevin Wetter who stole the show with his incredibly unique approach to the loop. Let's take a closer look. By stalling his 360-degree rotation in midair, Wetter's technique allowed him to pull off not one, but two back-to-back loops, giving him a lock on the title. With the most loop attempts, it was Matt Schweitzer. Time after time again, he exploded off the lip in a dazzling aerial display that landed him squarely in the number 2 slot. And taking it to the extreme, we saw many attempts at the double loop. Though no one successfully pulled off the elusive 720-degree maneuver, it was third-place finisher Mark Angulo who came closest to staking that claim. And so after 10 days of aggressive competition here at the Aloha Classic, we caught but a glimpse of what the future holds. As the limits of the sport continue to be redefined, we can only watch and wait. Until next year, aloha.